Okay, welcome to day number 6, third day of yoga. We are going to be working on our lower body today because yesterday was a lower body day with Dr. Mark. And so we are going to be focusing on hamstrings, quads, and hip mobility, ankle, knee mobility mostly today. And it should be, again, about 15-20 minutes. Nothing should be over that, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, let's go ahead and start in our child's pose position that we learned yesterday. It's getting kind of cold in here, so we got the socks and the sweater on. It's freezing. So knees nice and wide, tops of the feet on the floor, big toes together, sitting on your heels. And again, if this is painful, roll up a towel or a mat or whatever else and just put it under that ankle joint to give you a little bit more room there. Otherwise, taking a seat here, and we're just going to start sliding our hands out in front of us, bringing our forehead to the ground in our child's pose position. And just breathing here for a moment. Really allowing your hips to relax. We're getting a nice little stretch in our ankles, our knees, hips, our back, our arms, everything. And just breathing. Beautiful. Let's go ahead, when you're ready, coming up into that tabletop position. So bringing your hands right under you, and your knees are going to be about hip width apart. We're going to tuck our toes under, and then we're just going to press the ground away, hovering our knees over the ground. You can wiggle them just to check. And then we're going to sit our hips back over our heels, and then slowly start to straighten the legs. Now remember, in the downward dog, the legs don't have to be all the way straight because that can sometimes start to round your spine. So make sure bend your knees, sit your hips up to the ceiling, straight back. Your ears are between your shoulders. Your hands are spread nice and wide. And while we're here, we can just bend into one knee and straighten out the inner part of the other. Kind of walking out the dog, stretching those calves a little bit. Breathe. And now to warm up, let's shift forward into a high plank position, core nice and tight. And we're just gonna stay here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then shifting back into our downward dog, bending those knees. And then again, pressing one heel down to the ground and the other. And breathe, always breathe. Good, when you're ready, shifting forward into that high plank, core nice and tight, tucking your butt a little bit, protract your shoulders so you're pressing the ground away, engage your quads as well for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sitting your hips back, into our downward dog again, just pressing one heel down to the ground and the other. And now we're gonna go up for a one-legged dog. So we're gonna keep the right leg on the ground. As we inhale, take the left foot up to the ceiling. Try not to open your hip just yet. Keep that left hip down towards the ground. We're gonna get a really good stretch in that right calf and hamstring. And then from here, we're gonna come up onto our tippy toes, like we did the other day, core nice and tight as you bring your knee to your nose, core, place that foot in between your hands. And breathe in this lunge, kind of a resting position now. We can bring our hands up onto our knees into a high lunge, really allowing that right hip to open up. And breathe. Good. You can rock back and forth, which I always love. Opening up that hip. Beautiful. Bringing your hands back onto the ground. Keep your right hand where it is. We're going to throw in a little twist for fun. We're going to take the left hand up to the ceiling. Again, strong hands. Don't sink into this arm, but press the ground away. Good, and then exhale, bringing that hand back down to the ground. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So send it back into our downward dog. And breathe. This time, left leg stays down as we take that right leg up to the ceiling. And again, don't let that hip open up, but just try to square it off to the ground. And then tippy toes of that left foot as you shift forward into that plank, core nice and tight, knee to nose. Place that foot in between the hands. Remember, that one takes plenty of practice. And again, just breathing here. You can come up into that high lunge or stay down, it doesn't matter. And just shift back and forth and breathe. Good. Opening up that left hip. Beautiful. Bringing your hands back down to the ground, keeping your left hand where it is. We're going to go into that twist again. So inhale, take that right hand up to the ceiling. Good. And exhale, bringing that right hand back down to the ground. Beautiful. From here, we're actually going to stay on this side, and we're going to add in a side lunge. So we're going to go into a Skandasana. So come up onto your heels and then pivot both feet to the sides of the mat, pressing that right knee out. So now we're in a side lunge, opening up that left side. Beautiful. And then standing up into that wide-legged stance, and we're going to go down to the other side. So bend into that left knee, pressing in the left knee with the left elbow. There we go. Straightening that right side. And then standing all the way back up, pigeon toe your feet a little bit. And then we're going to bring our hands to our hips. As we imagine, we're going to tilt our hips with our hands, leading with our chest down to the ground. Maybe bringing your hands down to the ground in a flat back. Breathe. And then slowly release even lower. Down to the ground. You can release your head down. Breathing here for a moment. Beautiful. And then pressing the ground away as you come back into that flat back. Bringing your hands to your hips as you hinge at the hips all the way back up. And then we're going to go into our Skandasana on the right side where we started. Pressing into it. Side lunge is also what it's called. Maybe you can notice you can go down a little bit further. And then pressing up, and then we're going to go to the left side again. So Skandasana on the left side. Breathe. Good. And then we're going to just come up a little bit, and then we're going to windmill our hands over that left foot into that lunge position. Beautiful. So we should be facing the back of the mat now as we take it back into that downward dog again. Breathe. Good. Now we did it on the last, or the other side, so we're going to do it on this side. Keep the right foot down as we bring that left leg up, squaring off our hips to the ground, getting a good stretch in that calf. And then tippy toes of that right foot, bend that left knee, core nice and tight, knee to nose, place that foot in between the hands. Going into our lunge. Beautiful. We always love to do that one for practice. And then going into our Skandasana, so pivoting on those heels into our side lunge on the left side this time. Beautiful. And pressing up, legs nice and wide, and coming down into Skandasana on the right side. Ooh, hip hop for me every time. Beautiful. And pressing back up into that wide leg stance. And then just heel toe your feet a little bit closer, still further, or still wider than your hips, but a little bit closer than we were. The toes are going to be going out, heels in, as you sit down into a deep squat. So it's kind of like a sumo squat if you've been weight training before. This is called a goddess pose. So we're going to bring our hands on our knees, and we can press into one knee. Feels good on the spine too, and then the other. Always making sure to breathe. Good. Beautiful. Always make sure our knees are coming out here. We never want them to start collapsing in. Out with the knees, sit down with the hips. And straighten the legs. So now we're gonna put in a couple of reps with it. So we're gonna bring our arms up and then exhale, sitting into our goddess, cactus your arms. And then inhale, straighten. And then exhale, goddess. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, goddess. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. Straighten your legs. Pigeon toe your feet just a little bit. Actually, don't pigeon toe your feet. We're just gonna heel toe our feet in a little bit more. So heel toe your feet in a teensy bit more than hip width apart. So from here, we're just gonna hinge at the hips. I'm gonna give you a side view. So our feet should be just a little bit further than hip width. We're hinging at the hips. We still keep a small bend in the knees. And we do a fold. It's kind of like a wide-legged fold, but a little bit less. And from here, we're gonna bring our hands down to the ground. So bend your knees as much as you need to get your hands to the ground. And then we're going to sit our hips down, chest up into a yogi squat. So I'll move so you can see me right here again. Yogi squat. And then hands back on the ground, bringing your hips up to the ceiling. You don't need to straighten your legs out all the way. You can rock side to side if you like. I always like to. And then bringing your hips down, chest up, yogi squat. And if your yogi squat's not here, maybe it's here, totally fine. One day, it'll be here. And then hands down, hips up, back and forth between these two. Hips down, chest up. We're gonna do 1 more time. And chest down, hips up. And for the last time, hips down, chest up, yogi squat. Really pressing your knees away from each other. Beautiful. And coming back up into that wide-legged fold, hinging at the hips all the way back up. And then making your feet a little bit wider so we can end off the same way we came in. Toes out, heels in. Going into that Skandasana on the right side, that side lunge. Beautiful. Pressing into that knee, making it wider if you need to. Good. And then windmilling our hands over that right foot, making sure you always pivot on the heel. And then we're going to be in that lunge position as we send ourselves back into that downward dog. Maybe it feels a little different. Good. And go ahead, lower your knees nice and wide, untuck your toes, sit your hips back over your heels, extend your arms all the way out and forehead to the floor. Breathe. Beautiful. Slowly start to walk your hands up until you're all the way seated on your heels. And that's it for day number 6. Okay, that's it for day number 6. I hope you enjoyed. And just remember that tomorrow is a rest day for our program. And so go on a walk or a run or whatever else you want to do that is technically a rest day here. So we will see you again on Monday. And yeah, enjoy. We'll see you then.